Now, Joe mentioned the city has concerns with the framework. He added to reporters at the call that he had no clue what was in the House legislation that has been the subject of days of high-profile debate, as Nancy Pelosi tried to work out last-minute sticking points between moderates and progressives, or issues like prescription negotiations.
Root for the home team. In my case, it's San Francisco and Baltimore as well. So let's, now that we've dispensed with the truly important in most people's lives, I want to just report on a very important visit that I had the end of last week and over the holiday weekend. As you may some of know, climate issue was my flagship issue when I was speaker the first time, when President Bush was president, and we passed the biggest energy bill in the history of our country, some of which was used as authority by President Obama when he was president for executive orders regarding climate and energy. We weren't able to pass the legislation for climate, needing 60 votes in the Senate, but it has always been of the highest priority. And so this weekend, I had the end of last week and this weekend, had the privilege of representing the Congress of the United States at the G20 meeting, which largely, well, it's always about security, economy, and governance, specifically focused on COVID and climate in this case. And then in addition to being part of that opening, to also participate in the opening ceremonies of the pre-COP26 session of the legislators gathered there. It was particularly exciting because while we were there, the announcement of the Nobel Prize winners for physics was named, and one of them was an Italian who then participated in the opening ceremonies as well because he received it. I won't try to describe it to you. Never try to describe why somebody gets a Nobel Prize in physics, but it relates to climate and his early understanding of how things are interconnected. George Parisi is his name, and it was such an honor to be on an opening ceremony with him, showing us a path for what we must do in addition to what we know from our experience, but knowing it from the standpoint of physics. It was interesting because every country is ready. We're all sort of measuring each other's commitment to meeting our emissions goals, and the president's is a strong one. Basically, what we said at this meeting is that America is back. That's exactly the message of President Biden, back in terms of multilateralism, back in terms of the transatlantic charter, which was an important part of our discussions, as well as back in terms of leading the way, again, on the climate crisis. His is not only to meet the Paris goals, but to beat them, and we would have over a 50% goal by 2030, 100% by 2050. Part of the commitment, in addition to meeting our own goals, is to make sure we help developing countries with the technology and resources to meet theirs. They are not responsible for many of the emissions, but they pay a big price in terms of rising sea levels, encroachment of deserts, melting of glaciers, drying up of rivers, and the rest that have an impact on their lives. It's a very big issue. The World Health Organization has just issued something within the last 24 hours, I believe. I saw it when I got off the plane, that they think that the climate issue is the biggest health challenge that we have. And it is a health issue. Clean air, clean water for our children. It's a jobs issue. Good green jobs for many more people to take advantage of the opportunities they present. It's a national security issue, as our foreign policy experts tell us, that the competition for habitat, resources, et cetera, is a security issue because of the migrations that it may cause from drought and famine and all the rest. natural disasters that spring from that.
So Democrats in the two chambers are taking separate tacks on revisions to the state and local tax deduction, after House Democrats initially pitched a 5-year suspension of the deduction cap. House Democrats have pitched a plan to raise the cap from $10,000 to $80,000 through 2030, and then have the cap returned to $10,000 starting in 2031. But that's different from a proposal from Bernie Sanders and Robert Menendez, who are proposing to leave the cap at $10,000, but exempt taxpayers with incomes under a level between $400,000 and $550,000. Breaking news, everybody. Bernie Sanders and Representative Ocasio-Cortez want Democratic lawmakers to now increase the price tag of Biden's spending bill, also known as our stimulus check. Schumer is now struggling to pass the new bills through the Senate, and Bernie Sanders and AOC slammed Democratic lawmakers who held up the passage of the Build Back Better Act by demanding to see analysis on how it would impact the budget deficit. The House passed President Biden's $1.2 trillion infrastructure package with the support of 13 Republicans. So the vote on the Build Back Better Act was postponed to later this month, after 5 moderate Democrats demanded to see analysis on the bill's long-term impacts on the budget deficit. They ultimately agreed to back the Build Back Better Act this week. By the week of November 15th, if the Congressional Budget Office's estimate is consistent with the cost projected by the White House. According to a statement from the House representative, if the fiscal estimates on the bill raise issues, we remain committed to working to resolve any discrepancies to pass the Build Back Better legislation.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and I accept that compliment on behalf of the House Democrats, who are the most pro-environment House Democrats we've ever had, actually most pro-Congress House of Representatives we've ever had. And I'm here today to salute you all for the grassroots work that is being done to make sure that when we build back better, it is truly better for the children. And for the children, we must save this planet that we will pass on to future generations with great responsibility. It would be a dereliction of duty to build the infrastructure of America without doing so in a green way that protects the planet. And that is exactly what Build Back Better does. It will help us reach our goals, the President Biden's goals. When I say to President Biden how important this is, you don't have to tell me. He said I was the first legislator in the Congress to introduce legislation for addressing the climate crisis, and he did that in 1986. So this is a high priority for him. So we're talking about creating good paying jobs. This is about jobs. We're honoring our responsibilities to our children. We're talking about health issues, clean air, clean water. We're talking about jobs issues, being preeminent in the green technology.